Hey everybody, and welcome back to Cypress Grove Homestead. Earlier we did an unboxing video to share with everyone some of the new soaping supplies that we have ordered, because as we have explained in some of our earlier vlogs, whatever you want to call them, we are going to be ramping up our soap production. And so we are going to be showing you one of the new products that we got, and it is a soap cutter. We had previously made a homemade soap cutter that worked well enough for our purposes up until this point, but since we're going to be ramping up production, we needed something that would make more uniform cuts and with some cleaner lines. So we got this on Amazon. It is just a generic soap cutter, and it even says right here, soap cutter. And you can see right here, you have the little wing nuts and little markers here. And then on the bottom, it's got some screwdrivers, or some screws, where you can loosen it and adjust. And this slides on these two little tracks where you can make it thick or thin. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try it, because it's got two little boxes here. And it came with this cutter or this wavy cutter. But I always use the straight cutter, or a knife. So this time I'm going to use the wavy cutter. I think it's kind of cool. I've seen them in like little crafty shops and like that, where they cut soap with the wavy cutter. I always liked how it looked. So today we are going to try the new soap cutter with a batch of Coconut Lime Verbena soap that we have made, and it's been curing now for about 2 weeks, which is longer than I like to let it sit, but it was a really soft batch. I made it with a high percentage of goat's milk, so it takes a long time for the extra moisture to evaporate out. So what I will do is, this is made with my old soap molds that I made homemade. So as you can see, they're a lot longer than the new soap molds that we got that I showed you yesterday. The new soap molds are about half as long, but it's going to be roughly the same size bar once we cut everything down. But here's what the big bar looks like whenever I make it. So it comes out in one giant piece, and what it's got is, if you look around here, this is like where the inside, whenever I make the swirlies on top, it gets a really rough edge. So what I normally do with either a vegetable peeler or a knife is I'll take and I just a real quick cut, because rather than having to clean up each individual bar of soap, I find that if I do that to the big loaf, it makes it a lot neater looking bars, and it saves me time, because instead of having to make, like 64 individual little cuts, I can just take and go down the sides of one giant loaf and get all these little rough and tumble edges out of the way. So that way, whenever I cut it into the little individual piece bars, they will look a lot nicer and a lot more, not professional, but at least a little cleaner. And you can see it's still part of the curing process. A lot of people think that the curing process is all about letting the lye neutralize, so that way it doesn't burn. And most of the lye neutralization takes place really within the first 48 to 72 hours. Granted, there's still some of that taking place the rest of the way, but I use some of our soaps within a week, 2 weeks, and it really doesn't have any negative effect. It's probably a little bit more drying on my skin, but it really, most of the lye is neutralized within the first couple days. A lot of what happens whenever you're curing soap is the moisture is drying out and it's hardening up. So it will last you longer in the shower or the bath. Otherwise, as you see how soft the soap is, it's very soft. And so if you would use it now, it would probably last only a couple weeks in your bath or shower. So now that I've got that cleaned up, and it will come out so now it's a nice clean edge all the way around. I'll take it and put it in my new soap cutter. I'm really excited about. And I push it all the way to the end here. So I hope this works out, because like I said, this is our first time using it, so we usually go for bars that are at least 4.5 ounces. If you look on our packaging, we don't give an exact weight because being homemade, they vary. But we usually like to give bars that are no less than 4.5 ounces. So here's my wavy thing, and like I said, it's just like a miter box. So what you do is you take and you line up the slots here, and you put it in here, and then make sure you're pushed all the way to the edge, and nice even pressure all the way down, and then jiggle it free a little bit, and then pull it back up, and there we go. And sorry if you guys are a little bit seasick. Don's kind of like managing this for me instead of putting it on the tripod, so if you're getting a little bit of shaken viewer syndrome. So now we'll see how much this one weighs. Now this is an end piece, and end pieces tend to be a little bit smaller because the corners are a little bit not quite shy, because whenever they fill in the molds, they don't always fill in all the way to the corners. So, and that one is 5.3. So that qualifies for our no less than 4.5. So that is a sellable bar. Now, so then I just take it and you slide it on down. And with this one, I'm not going to press it all the way to the end because I don't want it to smash the ridges that I just made. Make sure it's even. And we put it in here again. Nice even pressure. Like that. Lift it up. Slide it away. And there you go. Nice wavy bar of soap. And we'll weigh this one to see. 5.3. So seems to be a pretty consistent cutter. And actually, I'll take this out for a second and I'll show you what I was talking about, because I have a second loaf of soap here that I made, and as you can see, this one I just took out just like I did with this one, but I have not trimmed the edges, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll take and put it right in here without trimming the edges of this one, and I'll make a cut. Nice even pressure. Now technically the weight should, I hope, be roughly the same, because whenever I pour them, I try to pour them about equal. Okay, so that one is the smaller one. But if you look now, if you look at these ones, see how this one looks more a nice bar shape, and this one's kind of got like this big ridge up here on this side. It doesn't quite look as nice. I'll cut another one just so we can see and compare, because I really want to see about the weight, see how I did about pouring. I always like to quality control myself. Push it down, pull it back out, and then lift it up again and pull it away. Now, so as you can see, if you look at between these bars, see how this one has a nice, more uniform rectangular shape. This one has this big wave up on the side here, and it just doesn't look quite as nice. And then as these cure, they'll get a little bit smaller because they are not finished curing it. They've got about 3 or 4 more weeks to go. This one they'll both get a little bit smaller. So even though these say 5.3 now, by the time they're done curing, this will probably end up being about like 5.1, 5.0, 4.9. So still greater than 4.5. But I will go ahead and clean these two up that I just cut. And before I cut any more on this, I will level this off and I'll continue. But I would have to say overall I'm very pleased with how this cuts. I have noticed that what I will probably need to do with this soap being as soft as it is, I will need to periodically clean this cutter in between, like every 2 or 3 bars, because it leaves enough of a residue on the cutter that it does kind of smear if I don't clean it. So if I want that nice crisp cut, I do need to clean it in between like bars. But overall, I would say it's very sturdy. A lot of times my cutter will come loose right here, but this stays nice and firm. Like I said, it cuts even bars that weigh the same. Those two cuts were like 5.3 exact. What I do with these scraps is I save them because of what you can do is you can make like a plain soap and then you can sprinkle these inside for like confetti soaps to like get different colors in. Also what you can do, a lot of people don't know, is some people will use these as laundry detergent. They let them dry out all the way and they'll just take a handful and throw them into the actual tumbler drum of their, not into the like the soap dispenser part, but they'll actually throw it in with their clothes and just, you know, not a whole bunch, but like a small handful, throw them in and just let it go through the cycle with their clothes, and whenever they come out, it's just like, you know, regular homemade washing detergent. So I would say that this is a good purchase. I'll let you know how it holds up over time, but overall I would say for, I think it was $18.99. I'm very pleased. 1-day shipping, so again, Amazon has done a really good job of sorting out, doing the reviews, and recommending 1-day shipping. So thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more product reviews and more soaping stuff from the Homestead.